this fourth example, 2x squared plus x minus 6. So first of all, there's no GCF. And looking at our signs, it multiplies to be negative. We know that our signs are going to have to be the opposite. So that's supposed to be a plus, a positive, and a negative. So let's go ahead and draw our parentheses and start with our first term, which is 2x squared. 2 is prime, so this makes this a little bit easier. The only option is 2x and x. And then I don't know where the plus or minus sign goes. I do know my last term needs to be negative 6. So for negative 6, you have a lot of options. You have negative 1 and 6, or you could switch. And you have 2 and negative 3, or you could switch. Where am I? Here we are. So again, I would start probably with these first two here, especially because that number right there in front of the x is a 1. So I'm looking for a middle term of 1x, since that's such a small number. So I'm going to try a negative 2 and a positive 3. And I'm going to check to see if my outside and my inside terms add to be 1x. So my outside terms I get 6x, and my inside terms I get negative 2x, and that does not add to be 1x. So I need to switch the 3 and 2 and see what we get. So let's switch the 3 and the 2. I think now the 3 is here, right? And the 2 is here. And we get 4x and negative 3x. And when I add those, I actually get my positive 1x. So that is factored correctly. So it's 2x minus 3 and x plus 2 is what this factors to be. Okay, let's look at this applied problem. Example 1 says the length of a rectangular flower garden is 13 feet more than twice its width. If the area of the garden is 70 square feet, find the formula for area and factor it. Okay, so first I would draw a picture to kind of help me visualize what's going on. Doesn't have to be perfect. That is not a straight. That should be a rectangle. Pretend like it is. And let's mark what it tells us. It says the length is 13 feet more than twice its width. So when it gives you the length in terms of the width, first just put W for width. So that's a good way to start. And then it says the length is 13 feet more than twice. So twice its width means you're multiplying the width times 2. And then 13 feet more means you're adding 13 to that. So that is the length. So I have the length and I have the width. Now you have to remember that area of a rectangle is length times width. So whenever I'm given the idea of a formula, I like to write down what that formula is. So area of a rectangle, length times width. And we're told the area is 70 square feet. So area always comes in square feet, because think of flooring as be square feet, or square meters, whatever you happen to have. So I'm just going to fill in what I know into this area formula. I know the area is 70. I know the length is 2w plus 13. And I know the width is w. Okay? So then the directions say to factor this. So in order to factor this, first thing I need to simplify it. It's not even ready to be factored yet. So first thing I need to do is multiply everything inside the parentheses by w. So I'm going to distribute the w through my parentheses. I'm going to come over here. And I get 70 equals 2w squared plus 13w. Okay, so now I'm getting closer to factoring. When you're asked to factor a quadratic, you're going to hear this a lot. You always need to set your quadratic equal to 0 in order to factor, because you can't factor with the 70 over here. So I need to subtract this 70. Oops, let me do this in a different color. I need to subtract this 70 from both sides of the equal sign, so these will cancel out, so that I can factor this. So I'm going to have 2w squared plus 13w minus 70 equals 0. And now I can factor this. So we're going to come over here. There is no GCF, so I'm just going to draw my two sets of parentheses equals 0. The first term needs to multiply to be 2w squared, so 2 is prime, so that'd be 2w and w. My last term needs to multiply to be a negative 70, so I know my signs are opposite. And for 70, you have a lot of options. You have 35 and 2, 10 and 7, and 70 and 1. I'm going to try the 10 and the 7. No idea if these are going to work. That's why we're trial and error. We're going to check. So let's check our outside and our inside terms and see what we get. So we get 14W and negative 10W, and that does not add to be what I needed, which is 13. So let's change this. So let's switch and put the 7 here and the 10 here, and I get 20W minus 7W, and that does add to be a positive 13W. So this is now factored. So 2W minus 7, and that should be a W plus 10.